What's up, babes? I'm Joshua Weissman's Waluigi. I wanted to ask you all the question, can food tell the hero's journey?
Where have all the good men gone, and where are all the gods? Where's the streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds? Isn't there a white knight upon the fiery steed? Late at night I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night. He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fast and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero.
I love the Bonnie Tyler version, but the Jennifer Saunders version is better, IMO.
Hello, this is Processed Grief Product. On today's video, we're going to be going over major spoilers for the film Ratatouille, and we're going to go over some minor spoilers for the film The Menu. Both are incredible, I recommend watching each. Now on to my nonsense.
So to answer the question, can food tell the hero's journey? We first need to explain the hero's journey itself. The hero's journey is as old as humanity, but Joseph Campbell is famous for pointing it out. Every single story follows this structure. There are exceptions, but most of the time, a well-executed, audience-resonating story follows this structure. I like Dan Harmon's version better. Harmon, if you don't know, is the creator of countless works like Community and Rick and Morty. I think his version is easy to digest and simple to explain. The Dan Harmon story circle is as follows. You, the character, is in a place of comfort. Need, things could be better for the character. Go, the character leaves their comfortable situation in pursuit of their need. Search, the character undergoes trials and tribulations while searching for their need. Find, this is also called the meeting with the goddess. The character finds what they're looking for. Take, the character pays a heavy price for the thing they find. Return, the character returns to the familiar situation. Change, the character is different having come back. We see this cycle over episodes of TV, multi-novel epics, songs, paintings, jokes. Really, any form of art can tell a complete narrative cycle of the hero's journey. This cycle is fundamental to the human experience. But can food tell the hero's journey? I'm going to take a moment to be specific. You could take a bowl of alphabet soup, spell out a story. Yes, but then the food becomes literature. The story is in the language, not the food. Same goes for using food to create imagery, like latte foam art, hyper-realistic cakes, cute bento boxes shaped like characters. This to me isn't telling a story with art. This is a painting you can drink, a sculpture you can eat, a collage you can eat. I'm not counting food being transformed into another artistic medium. There's also a story you can ascribe to food. For example, there's the rags to riches story of several cuisines, say lobsters in the Americas in this case. Eating lobster was initially stigmatized for being abundant at the time, a poor person's food. Several cultural shifts later, lobster has become a highly sought-after cuisine. This tells the story surrounding the food. The food itself isn't telling any sort of story without language telling you its story. What does the dish butter poached lobster tell you about someone's character growth or overcoming challenges? It doesn't. Not unless you use more conventional storytelling to tell that story. The closest thing to telling a story with food has been seen in the movie The Menu. Each course in the meal comes with an accompanied spoken word explanation. This is fascinating ground to me, it telling an overarching story using representational foods in a multi-course meal, but I don't think the food itself tells a story. Even if it does, it's not the kind of story you can tell specific details about. You need a lot of imagination for the recipient of the meal, and at that point, your recipient of the meal, your guest, is just imagining a story about your food. You're not telling a story. Then there's the route of the menu, where each item is spoon-fed meaning to the guests. This pretentious nonsense actually fascinates me. Like, imagine a series of courses representing someone's devolving mental state. The first dish, some elegant high-end thing. Second, the same dish but worse, uglier. The third, a bad version of that dish. Fourth, a simple, underwhelming but fine dish. Fifth, a whole quart of signature select mint chocolate chip ice cream. Sixth, just an empty plate. I think there's a lot of fascinating ground here, like eating a hyper-realistic cake of your own face and that emotional journey. This gets close to me, but I don't think it can tell the hero's journey. It requires an audience to make up their own meaning or someone to explain the meaning. So, telling the hero's journey with food is either impossible or pointless at this point. What I think is a less outlandish claim is that food is an art form. Food is an art space that engages the senses like any artistic medium. There's balance, color, shapes, audio. There's an audio component to food. We make sounds eating. And we tend to like food that has a pronounced novel sound. The crunch of raw vegetables, the sizzle of frying food, the bubble of a hot soup. Touch. Now we're getting into some of the strengths of food as a medium for art. Food is a deeply intimate part of the human experience. We engage with food directly with our bodies and can experience such nuances, textures as we eat. Smell. I think food is the best smelling art form. Close second, flower arrangement. Third, physical books. Honorable mention, every failed smell-o-vision-esque product. Lastly, taste is where food is king. There isn't any other art form that uses taste in any regard. I encourage you to actually me. If someone eats the Mona Lisa and develops some profound understanding of art as a result, I would love to hear your experience. So, how do you tell a story with taste? I think Ratatouille, my favorite mech anime, captures this perfectly. There's a specific scene in the film I want to highlight, specifically the villain Anton Ego's character arc. Let's break down this scene moment to moment with the hero's journey. I hope you all have Ratatouille fresh on your minds. If not, watch it. It's great. So Anton Ego, is a food critic whose thoughts implicitly ended Chef Gusteau's need. Gusteau's is suddenly popular, going against his criticism and challenging his ego as a food critic. Go. Anton Ego goes to Gusteau's with the intention of producing a scathing review. Search. The restaurant is a mess, and Ego has plenty to be critical of. He is looking for perspective in his food.
Perspective.
A similar goal to our search. Find. This is the meeting with the goddess. He has earnestly presented a peasant dish. Ratatouille. Take. Ego takes a bite and is transported to a childhood memory. He is presented with the impossible, a meal like Mother used to make. In these moments, he's reminded why he became a food critic in the first place, because he loves food. This point is important. We'll come back to it. Return. He goes back to his home to write a review. He is a food critic still, but he's changed now. He reflects in on himself, understanding the value of art, and becomes critical of, criticism. Ego realizes that great art can come from anywhere, and art of any sort has more value than its criticism. So this was not explicitly shown in the movie, but the house that Remy the rat starts in could be the house of Anton Ego's mother. He remembered the dish when Mother Ego made it. He was there to smell it and recreate it with his perfect schnoz. To be clear, this is a fan theory that Ratatouille director Brad Bird discounted himself. I still like this interpretation, despite it not being canon for Disney Pixar's 2007 France Isekai. Regardless of how you view the film, if Remy knew what to cook because of being around Mrs. Ego or simply his own talent, this brings me to the point of this video. Taste. Smell. It's all directly connected to memory in a powerful way, more powerful than any other sense. Food tells stories that no other artistic medium can by immediately transporting you into your own memories. The stories food can tell are not very complex, but are deeply profound. Each time you eat, you are the protagonist of your own story. Wherever the food came from is your meeting with the goddess, be it a loved one, a chef, a burger slinger, or plucked fresh from nature itself. The first stories ever told are likely stories of finding food. You were hungry, you found food, you ate. Cyclical. However, it's not very interesting just to say eating 2 McChickens is a story, so let's tie in the memory part. In the scene with Ego, he's not just remembering his childhood home and his mother's cooking. He is experiencing that in that moment. All the neurons associated with his mother, her cooking, and being a child are being lit up by the dish presented. I don't think this is dramatization, but an apt depiction of that experience. When I try my close friend's curry, I'm instantly transported back to when we had our first apartment together at 18. Or when I'm at my partner's family's place for the first time and their mother made sinigang, a traditional Filipino soup. It was just like grandmother's. In that moment, I felt loved, felt welcomed, Anxieties of alienation melted with the first spoonful. So to put a concrete answer to the question, can you tell the hero's journey with food? The answer is kind of, partly. I don't think you can tell the hero's journey start to finish with just food. I mean, how do you even convey character in food? The point I want to make is you can play a pivotal role in your own journeys and the journeys of others. You can tell part of the hero's journey with food. If you're eating, you're the protagonist. If you're preparing for someone else, you have a moment to be the proverbial goddess they meet. A meal can do more than satiate hunger. It can make you feel loved, remind you of your past, remind you of others and how you may value them. It can connect you with your culture, cultivate a sense of identity, or make you feel welcome, or in Ego's case, it can provide perspective. Food changes you. If you're feeling lost in life, all it takes sometimes is a dish with a little perspective. Seek out beloved foods and those who make them. Cooking for yourself can also be a transformative experience. On a final note, we can't change anyone but ourselves as individuals, but that doesn't mean you can't impact others. More so than any other artistic medium, food doesn't tell you about a place, it brings you there. If a loved one is upset and you don't know how to help, try fixing them something you might both be connected to. It might send them on the journey they need.
Hello everybody, thank you for making it to the end of my video. I have so many questions for each of you. What did you think? What's your favorite kind of food? Have you had an experience like this before, where you've eaten a food and it's suddenly taken you to a place in your memory? Would you like to see more food content, or would you like to see more pop culture content? I'm a huge fan of each and would love to share more ideas with you. Thank you for being here.
Hello. This is where our story ends when it comes to food at the very least. For the rest of us, that story's going to keep going and going and going. Thanks for watching.